The world of Relora had once been a cradle of serene harmony. Its blue forests shifted with gentle winds, and its crystalline plains shimmered with soft colors beneath a silver sun. Its people, the Relorians, were a peaceful race who cherished beauty over conflict. Their cities were built from living glass that resonated like quiet chimes when touched by the air. But peace had made them slow to adapt, too trusting of the wider galaxy that circled them like a ring of distant lights. When the invaders came, the sky fell silent. The stars dimmed beneath the shadows of warships forged from black metal. The Dargan Legion descended with fury, sweeping across the forests and plains without mercy. They were conquerors who bent worlds into submission, leaving behind scars that never healed. The Relorians had no true soldiers and no history of war beyond forgotten legends. Their defenses crumbled in days. Their cities sang no longer as the glass was shattered under steel boots. Queen Arali stood at the balcony of her palace, watching smoke rise above the horizon. Her voice trembled as she addressed her council, the shimmering crown upon her brow unable to hide her fear. She had ruled under the promise of peace, and now her people looked to her for a salvation she could not provide. Their technology was advanced, but not meant for destruction. Their minds were brilliant, but untrained for violence. The counselors argued over options: surrender or resistance, diplomacy or flight. Every path led to ruin. It was Counselor Laren, the eldest among them, who finally spoke the words that startled the room. He recalled ancient accounts of a distant planet, one known for warriors unparalleled in ferocity. A planet considered uncivilized by some galactic scholars. A place of storms, deserts, oceans, and hardship. A place where conflict had forged resilience into every generation. He spoke of Earth. Rumors told of humans who fought as if fire coursed through their veins. Some records painted them as heroes. Others called them reckless creatures who wielded war like an art. To the Relorians, desperate and cornered, either interpretation offered hope. They needed someone who understood survival, someone who could face a legion without trembling. Queen Arali hesitated, then finally nodded. A message was crafted, humble and pleading, encoded with ancient diplomatic protocol. The plea was simple. They begged for saviors. The beacon was sent into the dark. The Relorians waited with dwindling hope as the war closed in on their capital. Many doubted Earth would even hear them. Others feared the stories of humans were exaggerated. Still, some clung to the belief that if any species would respond to a cry for help, it would be the stubborn, relentless beings of that distant world. Days turned into nights filled with orange fire as the Dargan Legion pressed their assault. Refugees flooded toward the capital's gates. The Relorian Guard, untrained and frightened, struggled to maintain order. The air grew thick with fear. Then, without warning, the sky changed. A roar split the clouds as thunder rolled across the city. The Relorians looked upward and saw shapes breaking through the storm that had gathered like an omen. Metal glinted in the light. Engines screamed with a voice, unlike any ship they had heard before. The vessels descended in formation, their hulls painted with symbols unknown to Relorian eyes. They were angular, aggressive, unapologetically crafted for conflict. Queen Arali stared with a mixture of awe and dread. These were not graceful diplomatic cruisers. These were war machines. A voice echoed across open channels. Calm but edged with iron dot, this is the Earth Expeditionary Response Unit reporting for arrival. Stand by. Relorian eyes widened. The message had been answered. Their call for saviors had been heard. But as the ships opened and figures emerged, the Relorians found themselves frozen by uncertainty. The humans stepped onto the crystalline ground clad in armor that seemed grown from storms. Their visors burned with faint light. Their weapons hummed with the Predator's promise. The lead commander walked forward. His name was Rian. His presence alone radiated an aura of danger. He surveyed the city, the damaged towers, the trembling people. He removed his helmet, revealing eyes sharp with experience. Not cruel, but unyielding, Queen Aralia approached with caution. Rian bowed slightly in respect, a gesture that eased her fear, but did not erase the raw force that emanated from him. She thanked him for answering. Rian replied with calm brevity, "You called for help. We do not ignore those who reach out." Behind him, the human soldiers stood silent. Their posture was disciplined, yet there was something predatory about the way they observed their surroundings. They moved with a confidence Relorians had never seen. These were not saviors dressed in shining robes. These were creatures forged from hardship. These were warriors who had survived worlds that tried repeatedly to break them. The Relorians whispered among themselves, "Are these our defenders? Or has Earth sent something else?" The Dargan Legion did not wait. Their war horns sounded across the plains as their next wave of troops marched toward the capital. Their machines rumbled with mechanical fury. Their banners rose like jagged shadows. The Relorian defenders faltered. Their fear grew. Rian turned to his forces with a simple command, "Advance." The humans moved with lethal precision. Their armored boots shook the ground as they marched. They took positions along the shattered walls and lifted weapons that glowed with eerie power. Rian stood at the front line, calm and steady. The first volley of Dargan fire rained down. The humans did not scatter. They retaliated with controlled bursts of energy that cut through the Legion's ranks. Their strategy was ruthlessly efficient. They took cover, advanced, and executed maneuvers with perfect synchronization. The Relorians watched in disbelief. Human soldiers fought with a ferocity that bordered on terrifying. They did not hesitate. They did not falter. Where Relorian defenders trembled, humans charged. Commander Rian led by example. He confronted Dargan champions with blade and rifle, adapting to every shift in combat. His movements were sharp and trained. The Dargan warriors, hulking and armored, expected an easy victory. Instead, they faced humans who pushed forward with relentless resolve. A Dargan officer roared and swung a massive blade at Rian. The human commander ducked, countered, and brought the giant crashing down with a strike to its exposed flank. The Relorians gasped as the enemy fell. Beside him, a human soldier named Mara disabled a towering war mech with a device that pulsed with electromagnetic force. She moved like a storm contained within flesh and armor. Another soldier, Lado, laid down suppressive fire with precision, so perfect it seemed unnatural. The Relorian guard felt their fear melt away, replaced by awe. They began to support the humans, learning from their movements, copying their discipline. For the first time since the invasion began, hope burned bright. The first major battle ended with the Dargan forces retreating in disarray. The Relorians broke into relieved cries. Yet the humans did not celebrate. They regrouped, analyzed losses, and prepared for the next phase. They were calm, focused, relentless. Queen Aralia approached Rian and thanked him again. She asked how such strength was possible. Rian answered simply, "Earth teaches us to survive, sometimes in harsh ways. We learned long ago that no one saves us. We become our own shield." The Relorians felt a chill. These were not peaceful heroes sculpted by gentle lives. They were survivors shaped by a planet that challenged them every day. They were forged by conflict, tempered by adversity, and strengthened by unity. Days passed as the humans and Relorians prepared for the final siege. The Dargan Legion gathered their full might, intending to crush the capital with overwhelming force. Towers of metal rose across the horizon as their armies assembled. The ground shook beneath their march. Queen Aralia stood on the balcony again, watching the endless sea of enemies. She whispered to Rian, "We called for saviors. Instead, It seems we found something different. Rian looked upon the Legion without fear. You found those who do not yield not when the final battle began. The sky erupted in fire. Human and Relorian forces stood side by side. Rian shouted commands that echoed across the plains. Mara coordinated drone strikes with unmatched precision. Lado led the energetic recruits among the Relorians, teaching them how to fire, move, and survive. The Dargan forces poured in like a tide. The humans met them head-on. Their battle cries shook the air. Their weapons cut through shields and armor. They fought not just as soldiers, but as forces of nature. The Relorians, inspired by the humans, stood firm. Their fear faded as they followed the example set before them. They learned courage not from heritage, but from observing humans who refused to bow to dread hours past. The battlefield burned with smoke and sparks. But the humans held. The turning point arrived when a colossal Dargan war machine advanced, towering over the defenders. Its cannons charged with devastating energy. Relorians trembled. Even their newly strengthened resolve wavered. Rian stepped forward alone. Queen Arali gasped, begging him to retreat. He ignored her plea. He sprinted toward the war machine, dodging blasts that scorched the ground. He leaped onto its metal shell and planted explosive charges at critical joints. With a final push, he launched himself free as the machine detonated, collapsing into molten ruin. The Relorian army erupted into shouts of triumph. The Dargan Legion, demoralized, began to fall back. Their formation crumbled. Their commanders fled. Rian raised his arm and signaled the final charge. Humans and Relorians surge.